Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Kunja Vihari. Krishna. So welcome to today's class in Srimad Bhagavatam. Welcome Bhakti Labhya Prabhu, nice to see you. And Divya Simha Prabhu, it was a long time. So welcome to today's class. Please give me your blessings that we can all learn something and that I can say something meaningful. The problem with this verse is that I don't know, because should I, and that's why I ask both of you if you can give me an answer, should we read just one or should we read all? Because the translation consists of the both. It's like one verse in translation, but actually two Sanskrit verses. So what would you do? Would you read just all of it, or should I read just?
No, I think it's together.
Okay. I hope you can see. So before we start, of course, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're going to read texts 1a and 2a from Canto 4, Chapter 29, which is entitled Talks Between Narada and King Prachinabhari. And these verses are extra verses of the chapter. It is said, there's a special note that says that according to Vijayadvaja Tirtha, who belonged to the Madhvacharya Sampradaya, the first two of the following verses appear after 45th verse of this chapter, and the remaining two verses appear after verse 79 of this chapter. So we're reading texts 1a and 2. Sarvesham eva jantunam Satatam deha poshane Asti pragya samayata Ko visheshastadandrinam Labdvehante manushyatvam Hitva dehadya samgraham Atmashtritya vihayedam Jivatmasa vishishyate Sarvesham eva jantunam Satatam deha poshane Asti pragya samayata Ko visheshastadandrinam Labdvehante manushyatvam Hitva dehadya sadgraham Atmashtritya vihayedam Jivatmasa vishishyate Sarvesham eva jantunam Satatam deha poshane Asti pragya samayata Ko visheshastadandrinam Labdvehante manushyatvam Hitva dehadya sadgraham Atmasritya vihayedam Jivatmasa vishishyate. If someone can read, please.
Sarveshamiva jantunam
Sarveshamiva jantunam Satatam deha poshane Asti pragya samayata
Visheshastadandrinam
ko visheshastadandrinam
Advihante manusyatvam
labhyante manushyatvam
Vadhyadya sadgraham
hitva dehadya sadgraham
Mashritya viyedam
atmashritya vihayedam
Jivatmasa vishishyate
jivatma savishishyate
Sarveshameva chantunam
sarveshameva jantunam
Satatam deha poshane
satatam deha poshane
Dipakya samayata
asti pragya samayata
Kovisheshastatayanam
ko visheshastadandrinam
Vehante manushyatvam
labhyante manushyatvam
Vadehadya satkraham
vadehadya sadgraham
Atmastitya vihayedam
atmasritya vihayedam
Jivatma savishishyate
jivatma savishishyate. You wanna read? Sarveshameva jantunam satatam deha poshane asti pragya samayata ko visheshastadandrinam labdvehante manushyatvam hitva dehadya sadgraham atmashritya vihayedam jivatma savishishyate. Thank you. Sarvesham, all. Eva, certainly. Jantunam, of animals. Satatam, always. Deha poshanem, to maintain the body. Asti, there is. Pragya, intelligence. Samayata, resting on. Kaha, what? Visheshaha, difference. Tada, then. Nrinam, of the human beings. Labdva, having attained. Iha, here. Ante, at the end of many births. Manushyatvam, a human life. Hitva, after giving up. Dehadi, in the gross and subtle body. Graham, an incorrect conception of life. Atma, of spiritual knowledge. Shriya, by the path. Vihaya, having abandoned. Idam, this body. Jivatma, the individual spirit soul. Saha, that. Vishishyate, becomes prominent. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. A desire to maintain body, wife and children is also observed in animal society. The animals have full intelligence to manage such affairs. If a human being is simply advanced in this respect, what is the difference between him and an animal? One should be very careful to understand that this human life is attained after many, many births in the evolutionary process. A learned man who gives up the bodily conception of life, both gross and subtle, will, by the enlightenment of spiritual knowledge, become a prominent individual spirit soul, as the Supreme Lord is also. Purport. It is said that man is a rational animal, but from this verse we can also understand that rationality exists even in animal life. Unless there is rationality, how can an animal maintain its body by working so hard? That the animals are not rational is untrue. Their rationality, however, is not very advanced. In any case, we cannot deny them rationality. The point is that one should use one's reason to understand the personality of Godhead, for that is the perfection of human life. So, I'm not going to read again the verse, but Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Guravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtare Shutarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva Cha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, today I'm going to speak a little bit about how we can use our intelligence and mind, our rationality, to advance in spiritual life. And because I didn't have so much time to prepare for this lecture, I took advantage of materials that I have from Gita Life. So they're based on that. And they're quite interesting. They're connected to the chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, but they can be applicable in this case as well. So, so the first thing we're going to talk about is that, first of all, rationality. So what do you think that rationality means? What is rationality for you?
Which makes sense.
Yes, that's true.
To be able to differentiate.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes, also. And also animals have that as well, because otherwise, actually everything on this planet has intelligence, some kind of intelligence that makes the entity, whether it's a plant even, or an animal, to live in this world. But Srila Prabhupada, he says that, first of all, we have to accept that animals have rationality, and I would connect this to today's conception of humans towards the animal world, where they think that they don't have a soul and that they actually don't feel anything and that they don't think about anything. So maybe the pet owners, they have some conception that actually animals do have feelings and intelligence and so on. But mostly people, they see them as just matter and things. And I remember I finished law, but then I started reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And then in the law, I forgot now how to say it in English, but law on real estate and on things, you know, that every state has real estate law, but law that prescribes like who owns what. Animal is considered to be a thing, so with no feelings or anything. So if that is according to the law of the state, then it's in everyone's consciousness. But they are conscious, they have rationality, and according to this rationality, they also make decisions in their life, right? Because they also have to feed themselves, they have to defend themselves, they also mate, and they protect themselves. So they use their rationality for that. And the point that Srila Prabhupada is making here is that 99% of humans today, they use their intelligence for that as well. So that's why it is described in the scriptures that today's human beings are not considered to be more advanced than animals in that aspect, but in the sense of using their intelligence. So today we have this material development and progress, especially in the Western world, and it only is sophisticated progress towards better sense gratification, in the sense of mating, defending, and eating and sleeping. So that's what humans do today. Mostly. But this human form of life, according to the Vedas, is a very rare form of life. And as it is explained in the scripture, we got it after many, many births in the evolutionary process. So evolution does exist, but in a spiritual sense. So we reincarnate, we change body from one body to another, but through various species of life. And then we come to the human form of life. And this is a gift, actually, for the conditioned souls, so that we can use our intelligence, our mind, our rationality, so that we can understand Krishna. And that's why human form is more exalted than animal form, because only in a human form of life we can actually question ourselves: who am I, why am I here, and what is my future? And that is the question that most of the people on this planet definitely ask themselves, but they receive answers according to what they are surrounded with, or where they came from, and so on. But some people like to inquire even deeper, and therefore they gain access to spirituality. And also in the Vedas it is prescribed that a civilized human being is the one who practices religion. So it's not only enough that we have a social construction or economical construction, but it's also important that we follow certain religious principles. And these religious principles are given to humans so that they can elevate themselves, that they can elevate their consciousness, and that they can understand God. And it is said that all our problems in life that we have are due to the fact that we don't have a proper knowledge to solve these problems of life. And Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and generally the Vedas, they give us this opportunity to solve the problems of life by gaining this knowledge and applying this knowledge in our everyday life. And that's why, of course, not all of us are so advanced that we can only practice spiritual life. We also live in this world, we have families, we have jobs, and so on. But what the Vedas also give us, they give us practical guidelines of how to live a good life, material life in a way, in this world, but also to practice spiritually. And that's like the gift of the human form of life, that we can actually practice this knowledge, understand this knowledge, and then elevate ourselves spiritually. So this transcendental knowledge that we are talking about now, it's actually an internal education that allows us to live in this world with a higher spiritual vision. So which means that that's what differentiates us from the animals, because the animals, they cannot have the spiritual vision. They can only live by their instincts and the body that they gained. But the humans, they have this ability to live their lives according to the spiritual vision, and then understand who they really are, their constitutional position as spirit souls. So in order for us to use our rationality, there are many ways. And it is said in the Vedas, it is described that there are 3 types of intelligence. And maybe some of you know which one there are, like how we can perceive this world. So, or persons who perceive this world in 3 ways, and one is considered of them the most intelligent, and then the other ones are, maybe someone knows, wants to tell. Yeah, okay. So on the first position, who is the most intelligent is the person who hears. Because if a person just hears and understands the point of what the person heard, then there's no need that the person experiences, for example, some bad consequences of some actions. And then I will give an example. Then on the second position is the person who has to see, not just hear, but see. So it's not enough that he hears an information, but he has to see a situation in front of his or her life to happen, and then he's convinced. And the third type of person is the person who has to experience a situation, and usually that's a shock treatment in some cases when something bad happens to us. So the best is to hear. And then I have an example of a person like who knows that it's forbidden to steal, and it's enough that you tell him it is not good to steal, and then the person will not do it. But then you have persons who they know that it's not good to steal, but then they have to see that someone gets arrested for stealing, and then they see that, oh, there's some heavy consequence of this action, so I will not steal. But then there's a third person who knows that it's not allowed to steal, maybe sees someone who gets arrested or sees in the newspaper, but still doesn't have this consciousness that he should not steal, so he still steals and then gets arrested and gets this experience. So in the same way, it can be applied to spiritual knowledge also, that the best way is to acquire it by hearing. And also, because spiritual knowledge is sometimes impossible to understand by seeing. Of course, you can experience it, but that's another level. But at the beginning, because we are limited by our conditioning, by our knowledge, and by our experiences, and because the transcendental knowledge and the Shastras, they talk about something that's above intelligence, the first thing we have to do, of course, is to hear. So that's the first thing. And especially today, people, and I was like that, so I can talk about it from my own experience. And I was also like raised in atheistic family, so there was, we knew about God because our other members of the family, they celebrated some religious holidays and so on. But for me, religion at that time was something very political, because we had war in the 90s, and then you had Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church, and then they were fighting, who's going to get their followers. And if you were like a pure Croat or a great Croat, then you were a Catholic, and if you were a pure Serb or a great Serb, you were Orthodox. So for me, I didn't like that. So I avoided it. But the point why I'm talking about this is then I got introduced to Bhagavad Gita and to Srimad Bhagavatam. And for example, in the Bhagavad Gita, we have Krishna telling us who he is and how he's present in this world and how we can see him. But it's impossible when you come from where I came from to actually understand this, to have this experience or some realization. So the only thing that I could do is just listen about something that maybe I don't understand. But then Krishna says, well, this knowledge is not an ordinary knowledge. It is above intelligence. It cannot be grasped with intelligence. Therefore, it should be also approached in a prayerful mood. And if we practice sadhana, or our spiritual life, by following certain rules and regulations, then if Krishna, who is situated in our heart, because we got that information also, if he becomes pleased with us, then he will reveal things to us in our heart. And that's what he says in the Bhagavad Gita. He says that he gives knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness, and intelligence, and his ability in man, and so on. So this knowledge is gained in this way. And the only way we can start gaining that kind of knowledge is intelligence, is hearing. So that's how our rationality at the beginning of our spiritual life can be used. So we hear this, and then we cannot also use just our brains, because there are also three ways in which we acquire knowledge in this world. So one is direct sense perception, which is called pratyaksha in Sanskrit, and then we have anumana, logic and reasoning. And of course, Srila Prabhupada emphasizes many times that we should use our intelligence, and especially in spiritual things, and that, of course, by logic and reasoning, we have to apply it. But the first thing we have to do is hear from the authority, and that is called Shabda. And that's the most important way to acquire knowledge, especially transcendental knowledge, which is above us. And we just did a 10th and 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita in Gita Life. And in 10th chapter, the opulences of the Absolute are explained, right? Where Krishna talks about what are his opulences in this world. He lists 82 opulences, and he just says that it is just a spark of what actually my opulences are. And he compares his opulences to certain exalted personalities in this world, or in the heavenly planets, or even above. but for someone who just encounters this knowledge, this can also be a little bit difficult to understand, like, what is Krishna talking about? And he's also not saying that he's not these things. He's just the source of these persons and of their opulence and of their ability. And in that sense, these all qualities, they belong to him, they come from him. And the 11th chapter talks about universal form. So how can you understand a universal form? I mean, Arjuna, he had to be given divine vision to see universal form. So in a way, there is rationality given to us in this human form of life, which actually allows us to go above even rationality, because spiritual things cannot be grasped only by logic and reason and intelligence. So if we hear about these things, then maybe one day these things can be revealed to us. And how? Is like this knowledge actually changes our vision. That's why Srila Prabhupada would joke. Okay, some people would say that the devotees are brainwashed, right? Because they chant the Mahamantra, but it's not only about chanting. Of course, chanting helps us, it cleanses the dirt that's accumulated on our hearts. But he also gives us knowledge. So in that way, he's also cleaning our brains and from all these misconceptions that we had from before. So he's giving us this knowledge, and this knowledge actually changes our vision of the world. So when Krishna says, I'm taste of water, I'm this or I'm that, I am the syllable Om, or I think austerities, he's japa. So whatever he says, then little by little, what happens is that our vision changes, so that when we see these things in this world, we can actually see Krishna. And that's connected very much to the vision of today's world. Today, everyone has to first see things, in order to believe. Even though that's a little bit contradictory, if we even put aside God and spiritual things, and if we only talk about material things that exist in this world, even that all you cannot see. So ultraviolet lights you cannot see, right? And there are some sounds that only dogs can hear and we cannot hear, but these sounds, they exist. So even for material stuff, we don't have the capability to understand them and see them, but they still exist. And why do we know that they exist? Because there are material scientists today who develop certain machines that can grasp the sound or measure things or see things that are above our vision. So that's just, and also like the 50%, I would say, if not more, of material science is based on theories, right? So it's again a question of belief and faith, according to, of course, some of their math or calculations and so on, but still it's a theory and based on faith. So yes, so this spiritual vision actually allows us to see God everywhere. So we can say to a person who says that I don't believe in God because I cannot see him, we can actually say, well, you can see him because there's a way of seeing God, and that is by acquiring this kind of knowledge. And there's a certain way how this goes, and I will try to explain it to you. So there is a certain way how we acquire information, even transcendental information. So first we get the information. So we know what's written somewhere, or someone tells us something and so on. This is called sabjagya, to know the letter. That's how it's translated. And after that, usually we need the association of the devotees, or for example, commentaries of the great Vaishnavacharyas, because Srila Prabhupada even says in the Bhagavad Gita that you cannot understand this science of the Bhagavad Gita without the help of a devotee. So this help of the devotee means that he helps us in understanding information. And that's called artagya, like how to know. And these two things are valuable, but more valuable than information and understanding that we gain through acquiring this spiritual knowledge is wisdom and foresight, which is called narnagya. And that means to know the deep secret that this knowledge has for you in life. So Of course, through practice of spirituality, we will gain certain wisdom, and this knowledge will give us the wisdom to understand the past. But what foresight gives us is like how we can create the future also. So that's also what the spiritual knowledge gives us, and that's quite interesting. Of course, sometimes we can say, well, everything is determined and so on, but we have free will, and also this free will is seen in our decisions, right? And the decisions we make according to certain knowledge. So that in that sense we can create future. And we can see that Krishna says that if you do this and that, this is the result. And he says it in the Bhagavad Gita. He says that if you practice spirituality in a certain way, especially with devotion towards me, you will attain me, you will not come back into this world, and so on. So in that sense, there is a certain result that we can strive for, and in that sense we can create our future, which is a spiritual future based on the knowledge that we are a spirit soul, and that's quite liberating. But the point is that this knowledge gives us vision. And now, how to get this wisdom and foresight or vision in spirituality? That is through hearing. But what kind of hearing? Deep hearing. So it's one thing just to hear a lecture. Like, for instance, this lecture is like what you will take from it, like whether you will contemplate what you have heard in this lecture and see how it applies like to your life. For example, how much do I actually hear, and so on. So this deep hearing consists of Shravanam, which we know what it means, like hearing. The science of hearing is very deep, so therefore it has other three stages. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani, Jai Jai Shishi Nitai. So as I mentioned, contemplation. So this is called mananam, which means that, I don't know, some people write books. So they contemplate about certain things that they realize. Some people are creative. I don't know, if you do deity worship, you can read verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, and if there is a festival, you can create decoration according to some meditation from Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's also like a deep contemplation of the scriptures. So, or you can give a lecture, or you can talk about these things to someone. You can even go out and preach as well. That's all like contemplation of what I have heard. And then there is nidhyasanam, application. So to apply the knowledge in life, which means that we receive certain practices and then we try to apply what we heard from the scriptures. And also it is... if you have read Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, but especially Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna says what is knowledge, he talks about qualities, so like humility and so on. But usually it's something that we gain by application. And if we have these qualities, that means that we are self-realized. We are not disturbed when something bad happens, something good happens. So all these things are in a way this knowledge of spirituality and so on. And if we apply this knowledge in our life, that means that we are changing our lives. And that especially refers to, it refers to every stage of spiritual life, but it's a little bit different in each stage. Maybe the change should be subtle when you're practicing for a long period of time, but at the beginning of life is a little bit gross because you have to really change many things. Like if you come and live to the temple, you change your whole appearance, and then you change the way, the way you shower, the way you brush your teeth, the way you eat food, because we don't eat food, we honor prasadam. You change the meditation in your day also, contemplation of your thoughts in your mind, you're concentrated on Krishna and so on. So the application brings change to your life. And then we have vandanam, which is a prayer. So with all of this, to understand really, we have to really engage in a deep prayer. And this prayerful mood of accepting spiritual knowledge is very important. That's why we recite prayers like before we start Srimad Bhagavatam class, or before the great acharyas, before they start writing a book, they have Mangala Charanam, right? the prayers for blessing. And this all is very important because they come into a prayerful mood so that they can, in this case, give, but also to understand. And for us, when we go into a prayerful mood and when we read the scriptures in this way, we're actually asking Krishna, please may this knowledge be revealed in our hearts. So that's the way how we can practice this deep hearing. And then this is what Keshava Swami, he said that when we hear properly, something amazing will happen, and that is that we will see Krishna everywhere. So this is like, for example, from the Bhagavad Gita. If we read these chapters where Krishna describes himself, if we do it in this way, then when we come outside, actually we can be reminded of Krishna in everything that we see in life. So I think that's quite amazing. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 2, that's a beautiful verse. Raja Vidyam Raja Guyam Pavitram Vidamutamam Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartumavyayam. So this knowledge is the king of education. So it's the highest of all education that we can gain in this world. It's the most secret of all secrets. Some people may say, like, how can he say that he's the secret of all secrets when we are like distributing it everywhere, like us devotees, we're trying to distribute these books all over the world, and I mean it's available on the internet, it's even free. So how can you say it's a secret of all secrets? Well, it's secret of all secrets because of this process that we described now. So it's not enough just that someone, even, I mean, Srila Prabhupada did say that person's life will be successful if he only reads one verse from his books, and that's true. But in order for a person to go deeper into the spiritual life and advance into spiritual life and really see Krishna, we can see God to God. We can see God face to face, actually, if we read and if we acquire this knowledge. So in that sense, it's a secret because the person has to go through all this process of deep hearing. It is said that it's the purest knowledge because it's received directly from Krishna, and he is the perfect person, so therefore it is perfect also. And the most important thing is that it gives direct perception of the self by realization. So if we really practice it in this deep sense, if we use our rationalization, intelligence, mind in the way that scriptures advise us to do it, if we approach it in a prayerful mood, and if we, of course, do our sadhana, then we can actually see that we are spirit souls. So, of course, I mean, I can say for myself, sometimes it happens that I think that I'm a spirit soul, but then sometimes it's just because this conditioning is sometimes so strong. But if we practice, then sometimes we can feel it. But we can have these realizations, and there are also examples of the great Vaishnavas who had these examples that they really behaved like they're not this body. Like, for example, Shukadeva Goswami, who was naked because he had no perception of that he's this body. So yes, so this is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. So of course it's joyfully performed that if we gain this knowledge, these qualities of the spirit soul, that will make us happy because it's our constitutional position, and also this knowledge will allow us to see God face to face and to develop a relationship with Him. So therefore, it is joyfully performed, and it is said that for us, and it's important for anyone, even those people who are more maybe not into the Vedas or Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, but there is a saying that a good life is inspired by love and guided by knowledge. So this is very important for spiritual life, but also for material life. But in material life, it can only be actually successfully attained if we grasp the spiritual knowledge and then change our life. But inspired by love usually means that we develop love for Krishna or the devotees, and we are guided by the knowledge of the Shastras, which also come from Krishna and from the devotees. Yeah, so these are some just things that I thought about, how we can actually use this rationality that human form of life has, and how we can see that we are very fortunate, and how we should actually use this whole human form of life to advance and not to be born again into animal life, but also not even human life, because this Kali Yuga is not a very nice period to live in. So this is what I have prepared for today. Thank you for your attention. Do you have maybe some questions, maybe comments about what I have mentioned so far? Do you have a... Maybe you can...
No,
It's okay.
thank you for the nice class. You give us so many information.
Yes.
You spoke about rationality, and then you also mentioned free will at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
There is any relation
Between
the two? I am asking this because I was thinking about animals.
Mm-hmm.
Animals, we say that animals, they are not creating karma.
Yes.
No?
Mm-hmm.
They're just getting the karma from before.
Yes.
So if they are not creating karma, this means that there's not really free will,
Yes.
free choice. So, but we say that animals, they have rationality.
Yes.
Then how is this to understand it a bit more?
I would say that it's just the fact that they have intelligence, because it's given to them according to the constitution of their body, and the way they use their intelligence is just to satisfy the needs of the body, but they cannot have anything else, and then they cannot choose. I would say that they're very conditioned, and that they don't have actually the choice like a human person does of this free will, because in the human form of life we can make these decisions based on knowledge, but also some people, they're very conditioned as well. So you can like question what is their free will and what is, is not. And I think it's so, sometimes we won't, it is simple and it is complicated in a way, because I also, I had it prepared that when we want to perform a certain action, there are three doers, right? There is a super soul, the soul who endeavors, and material nature. And the only thing that the human does is desire, and that's where there is free will. But I think that the only difference is between an animal and a human in that sense, that this intelligence is higher. Then the conditioning is not so, not so strong in a human, because there's a comparison, right? When in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna explains what is lust, and then he says that there are various examples of how a conditioned living entity is covered by lust, right? And then he says that there is a smoke, and this smoke actually refers to a human being, but when it talks about the child in the womb, then he says it's trees. So I guess maybe the dust on the mirror would be maybe animals, but it's also connected with cleaning the mirror of the heart. But he says that there are three levels of covering with lust. So that's why I would say that the maybe exhibition of the free will is limited because of that. Because the spirit soul gained the body of an animal or a plant actually because of lust, and therefore he has to go through this karma, but after that he advances and so on. But that's also not very simple to say, because there are examples of in the scriptures where someone was given an animal body, but then the person had consciousness, and there again you can see that Bharat Maharaj, he was limited in his body. He couldn't do anything actually. Because of the body that he gained, that he received. So the only thing that he could do is think about Krishna, because this knowledge of the previous life and the consciousness was there, but actually he couldn't do anything because he just had this body. He just had to wait for the next life. And even the Arjuna trees, right? They were cursed by Narada, and but still they received a different type of body. So I guess that whether one is an animal or a plant. We don't know. Maybe they are so exalted, but they are punished because of something, and then they have this body. We don't know this thing, but we can see that they are limited by the body, and that if you get a human form of life, then you're not that limited. And then, because the example of the smoke is given, the fire can be ignited, and that fire is actually the knowledge of that we are spirit, soul, and who is Krishna, and so on. And then it starts to burn, and then the smoke is gone, and the fire is not like the fire, like a spirit soul is not covered so much by smoke. So I don't know if that is okay.
Thank you. Nice.
Yes.
About these 3 ways of how knowledge is acquired, the last one experience. I was wondering, often it's not just one-time experience that we need to understand things, and why? Is it because the intelligence is too coupled with this other reason?
Yeah, because you have desires. I would just say that maybe you know that something is wrong, for example, but you still didn't stop doing it because you have other desires. And and if something like that, for example, I mean, it happens to me in my spiritual life, like I like to watch movies, but I should not. I mean, if I would be really like Krishna conscious, then I wouldn't watch movies because they wouldn't be interesting so much to me, because Krishna would be more interesting. But I still have this desire, and then I hope that if my sadhana improves and if my chanting improves, I won't be so attracted to watching that, because that's dangerous actually when I think about it, because you can die anytime. That's one thing, and you're filling your consciousness with content of the movie, which is very materialistic. And for example, if you watch a movie before going to sleep, you would dream about it, and why do you want that in your consciousness? But I'm just saying how now I need to have some kind of my experience here, so because I'm still attached to that aspect. And I think that why I watch movies is because I like it, it's also a lusty desire, it's enjoyment for my mind, so I still do it. I'm not saying no to it. So that's why I would say that we need so much experiences, just because Krishna explains it as lust. We have these desires in our heart which are still material, and that's why how we act in this world. So some people, they act purely like materialistic, they don't think about God or anything, so they just want to enjoy. Then there's second type of people who act in this material world. They want to enjoy, but they want to enjoy according to the scriptures, and this is called karma kanda. And then there are people who practice spiritual life like us, and there is Sakama Karma Yoga and Nishkama Karma Yoga, sorry. And Sakama Karma Yoga is the one that you still have desires. So this is, for example, my desire that I have. I come to the temple, I do the worship of the deities, I chant, but I still have some impurities in my heart. But then there are people who act in this world on Nishkama Karma level, and that means that they do things for Krishna. But that's also not the purest. I found out that as well, because the highest level is just pure bhakti yoga, and that even though some people think that Nishkama Karma Yoga is bhakti, they are right, but there's a subtle attachment to it, and that means that the person is attached to the activity that he or she does. So he thinks that, or she thinks that he can just do this for Krishna, but actually a pure devotee, the one who is in pure bhakti, it doesn't matter what he or she does as long as he's near Krishna. So these are just some things, and I think, it's not something that I should be proud of what I said now, but it's a fact, and every one of us has something that they're attached to and that they have to work on it. Maybe someone has something gross and someone has something subtle. And we're not very intelligent, so we need experience. And I think that we need this experience just because of the attachment and lust. So, and maybe someone else has an idea about it. Or Okay, thank you for your attention. I wish you a nice day. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
done.
So,
Sounds nice.
it went down again though. Amazing how it goes down so much overnight.
The seminar room will be busy, but Amanda said we can go into history.
The seminar room will be busy all day.
11 to 1.
Huh? What is it?
Given a choice.
Okay. How to turn it off? I'm trying to think what we should prioritize. I brought a lot of stuff. I realized I should have brought stuff like yesterday instead of all at once this morning. I was on the tram looking like I was going to the airport.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama. Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama. Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama. Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama. Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama. Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama. 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 Hare Rama. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama. Krishna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Guru Prabhu Hare Rama.